A while back, some YouTuber friends of mine showed me a really cool new analog horror series that was just starting out, featuring an entity that disrupts communication as it stalks and haunts you, which, as a concept, I find pretty unique. I talked about it briefly in this video. The other night, I was watching YouTube and came across a strange new analog horror series documenting an entity called The Silencer. A few channels that I really love, Connor McGrath, Muldered, Your Everyday Theorists, talked about The Silencer and kind of showed me what it was. There's only 2 videos so far, but you should totally watch. You should watch their stuff and you should watch the series itself. It's really, really, really cool. And to my surprise, the creator reached out to me, and now I know the guy who made the Silencer series and can hopefully interview him at some point. Look at me, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'm moving up in the world. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Hello. Today we're going to be returning to exploring analog horror. Anyways, this is all to say that I'm excited to get into this with you because while the series is still coming out, a new episode just dropped a few days ago, and everything that we've seen so far has been creepy as hell. Starting with the first episode titled, Can You Hear Me? We open in the void. My name is Sophia. Something awful has happened. We're in a room walking towards the balcony of what seems to be an apartment. Outside, it's day. Something is falling from above. Maybe leaves, perhaps something else. I felt fingers twisting in my chest. Then I was trapped. Suddenly, the room is dark. The world outside is shrouded somehow. Initially, you might think it's just nighttime, but no. This darkness is much more encompassing and feels heavy, like a stone of anxiety in your stomach. Sophia looks down and clutches at her chest, and then it was here. Sophia looks up, turning slowly, gently, around to the right. We see other rooms in the sparse apartment. A fridge, a table, a delicate lamp that honestly we should turn on, maybe, because the darkness is suffocating. Maybe a bit of light would help illuminate whatever the fuck that is! A figure stands in the balcony, only slightly visible, looming over what, from this low point of view angle, I start to think maybe is a child. A hulking humanoid figure with a strange shape. It looks almost like a toy, and we hear a sharp intake of breath. I tried to tell Vicente. And here, my friends, is where everything starts to go very poorly. On screen, us viewers get to see Sophia's attempts at calling out, but all we actually hear is piano notes. What does this mean, you might ask? Well, she turns again, this time to her left, and there's another entrance to the room with a man standing in the doorway. Honestly, in this section, the man looks creepier than the entity did. She calls out, "Something's there!" only for us to hear more random piano notes. He just continues to stand expressionless, and she tries again. "Vicente, can you hear me?" No answer. He emotionlessly turns heel and walks away, leaving Sophia's cries unanswered in the dark. One of my favorite things about the series so far is, aside from the powerful visuals that seem more professional than your typical analog horror, but they kind of evoke old video games to me, actually. Liminal spaces and old video games, an eerie, disquieting nostalgia that seeps from every pore of the experience. But anyways, my favorite thing aside from that is the unique way of communicating to the audience what this entity actually does. We learn more as it goes, but in short, Sophia is being haunted by the Silencer, who inflicts a creeping psychological toll upon the minds of its victims, preparing them for some horrific fate, and they are unable to tell anyone. Attempting to speak results in those around them ignoring their pleas entirely, or even hearing something totally different than what the person was trying to say. Imagine for a moment that you were a child getting tucked into bed and you glance over at the closet to see a hairy, monstrous arm reaching out. First of all, don't worry. As Norm Macdonald would say, that's a deeply closeted bear, nothing substantial to worry about. You try desperately to tell your mom there's something in the closet, but all your mom hears coming out of your mouth is, "I love you too, good night." It's such a great, scary concept. But when your series is majority from the point of view of the character that's being, in this case, silenced, I imagine it's pretty hard to visually communicate that to the audience. So what this creator did was invent an audible cue that tells us something is wrong with the way that she speaks. It comes out all jumbled, like music notes. And I think that's really, really smart. It's not very often that I see something, or in this case, hear something, unique in analog horror, except for stylistic or, for lack of a better word, aesthetic choices. A lot of the makeup of many of the new series coming out recently is functionally very similar to each other. One of the reasons that I love this project so much is that it feels like it's breathing some new life into a genre that sometimes feels a bit stale. Anyways, she follows this character to a bedroom and tries to scream his name over and over, to no avail. The entity seems to almost float past, entering the room as she says, "He's in here." We can see the intimidating shadow of the creature in the doorframe, then on the floor in the bedroom. Vicente seems to be folding clothes and packing a suitcase. No one can hear me. Some time passes. Eventually she gets into bed beside him, trying to shake him awake as he sleeps. "Listen to me, please. It's here again." We hear a faint whisper, and very hesitantly, we turn to look in the doorway. Will it trap me like this forever? Maybe this time he'll hear this. Now he's doing the dishes, and we're calling his name, but he's not paying attention, so we pick up a plate. Now, throw it on the floor. Now, I'm losing control. The plate shatters loudly on the floor, but as we look down on the pieces, something feels wrong. There's that heaviness in the chest again, a cloud over her eyes. She blinks, and the plate is back on the counter. The pieces on the floor have vanished, leaving no trace of the action that she just committed. It never works, she thinks. The girl tries multiple different ways to communicate with this character. It's not certain if it's her father, brother, or someone else yet. Talking obviously doesn't work, but it seems like the entity is stopping her from even interacting with objects in the world around her in ways that will disrupt its power over her. So next, she attempts writing, scribbling, "It wants me" on the wall. "Can you see this?" she asks, almost to herself. And she turns to reveal the man sitting on the couch, eating, something. "Look!" she cries out. Damn, that lamplight is really doing the room no favors in terms of it not looking gloomy and dreary. I half wonder if her condition is creating this cloud of despair around her. It's right there. She turns, and we see our first real look at the design of the silencer entity. A finger pressed to its lips as it shushes her again. The creature clearly draws a lot of inspiration from the Obelisk series, or Boy Vey, I think that's how you pronounce this creator's username. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. But the mask itself has some very interesting defining features. The mask is highly reminiscent of No, a major form of classical Japanese dance drama, which has one notorious element to it. Generally speaking, the performances are without dialogue and communicate ideas through dance or expression, which is a theme that I think ties very nicely in with the rest of this story. Sophia goes on, "It doesn't like when I shout." Interesting. Could its abilities be strained by louder noises? Now she's in the kitchen as the man washes dishes again. She's saying help over and over and over again. Now she turns and walks away, down the hall, past a picture of a happy family mounted on the wall, and seems to look through each doorway, seeking respite from this awful curse hanging over her. You'll notice just how dark these scenes are. Perfect contrast when we suddenly cut to a new perspective. Everything is brighter, the characters are clearly illuminated, and we get to see Sophia for the first time here. It seems like we're seeing reality now, not the tampered version of it that we were witnessing before. And Vicente speaks for the first time. Sophia, you okay? And here, the sickening realization takes hold, sending shivers down the spine and tingling the soul. Of course, I'm a cool guy, so you already knew what the plot twist was anyways, but I'm gonna read it regardless because it's my video, screw you. Here, she understands finally that it changes what I try to say, in this case the I being her, meaning that when she tries communicating, it makes her sound like she's just fine. She answers his question with, yeah, Julio is on the way. Cool. He can take the couch. Notice the angle of this shot. A lot is communicated to us, the audience, as the story progresses. And to discerning viewers, you'll see the light is distorted again now. We are being clued in when we see things from her increasingly warped perspective versus any of the other characters' perspectives. And this becomes increasingly more important to stay aware of as the plot thickens and more characters are introduced. Along with the visual cue of light, we also get to hear the lovely piano masking her voice again. And she thinks, that's not what I said. And then we get this horrifying vision of the silencer silhouetted against the hallway. Its arms seem unnaturally long, but I guess everything about it is unnatural, so that really shouldn't be much of a surprise. The video concludes with Sophia's horrified but resigned musings on her situation. It'll only get worse. What does he want? Then she looks up to see its masked face looming over her as a final jump scare. The second video, out of the 3 we have so far, is titled I Need a Drink. And it takes the series to a darker place. The series is pretty fast-paced. Like, these videos are they're short, and there's, with only 3 videos, it covers a lot of ground. But here's where we start to get into the weeds of, like, substance abuse problems and stuff of that nature. So if that bothers you at all, you should go watch a different video of mine. My name is Sophia. No one can hear me. She looks down at her hands and then up to see a man on the couch and asks, can you hear me? Which seems a bit counterproductive. You just told us no one can hear you less than a second ago. She goes on, it's here again, then turns to look. And just like that, we are back in the action, lost in the sauce, dressing for depressin' even. That was terrible, I'm sorry. She asks him to listen to her, and I feel her frustration, trying over and over despite knowing there's simply no way that anything's changed. Suddenly there's a loud knocking at the door. Seeing as this episode likely takes place immediately after the first, we can safely assume that this might be the aforementioned Julio. The door slowly opens and Converse-clad feet step in through the doorway, not revealing the face of the character just yet. They ask, Sophia, are you hungry? And Sophia thinks, maybe they'll hear this. Sophia eyes a 6-pack, and then we hear a loud crash as she throws a bottle against the floor. Hey you, out there, beyond the wall, breaking bottles in the hall. Can you help me? Don't tell me there's no hope at all. Together we stand. Divided we fall. We fall. We fall. We fall. Again, she looks back up and sees the bottle, in fact, did not break, and the person who just entered has brought the 6-pack to the table. And now we've effectively gone over everything that we already saw in the first episode, showing that nothing has changed. She's still unable to effectively communicate or affect the environment around her to cause any alarm in the people close to her. Despite struggling this mighty struggle as the colors of the world drain away and there's a dark cloud hanging over and all around her, to those she loves, she seems happy, even content. Nothing works. My brother isn't doing well. And we cut to see him from Sophie's perspective, standing on the balcony and lighting up something. I would immediately assume it was a cigarette, but later sections of the episode lead my mind to other conclusions. I wish I could talk to him. Suddenly, we're standing over him, watching him sleep on the couch. Turning to the nearby wooden table reveals a single empty pizza box, amidst cans of soda, 4 beers, one of which is spilling onto the table, and what looks like a bag of marijuana. He'll smoke the wrong thing one day. She reaches out to gently caress his hand, seemingly very concerned about him, but then a noise draws her attention sharply to the back of the room, back towards the hallway, back to the silencer, who seems to be hiding behind the wall. Hey, buddy, you know we can all see your big-ass horn peeking out from behind the wall, right? Continuing to refer to her brother, she goes on. He changed when Dad died. And here the series begins to take an even darker turn. A room with blood pooling, shining in the faint light as it drips from a corpse hand. Julio, what happened? He stands still, frowning. His face looks hurt, or maybe beat up, and she implores him, say something. And now she's looking at the wooden table and couch again, only the boy isn't laying on it any longer. Julio, where do you go? She turns to the balcony again, hoping against hope to see him smoking out there. Anything just to find him. No response. She wanders around the apartment, looking for him. Are you there? She slowly walks down the hall toward the only room with light coming from under the doorway. She approaches, turning the knob, and enters as the door swings wide, revealing a grimy bathroom where Julio is on the floor beside the toilet, a sliver of foil laying next to him. Well, that escalated quickly. He doesn't seem to be moving, but thankfully he also doesn't appear to be dead. She runs out, screaming for help, but Vicente just responds, yeah, we can watch a show. Perfect reaction. Obviously the silencer is stopping her from getting help, and desperately she says, no, listen to me, he is dying. And he just responds, I've already seen that one, which is kind of funny given the circumstances, but we're not going to talk about that. She turns around and the shadow of the silencer is being cast across the room. Again, is he hiding? Like, I'm imagining this creature huddling in the corner like, oh, she'll never see me. And meanwhile, he has a massive shadow going across the room. Like, come on. She runs back to the bathroom after realizing no one is coming to help. No one is coming to save her. And you'd think by this point she would have realized what was going on and stopped getting surprised when talking to people didn't work, but what do I know? Stay with me, she whispers, rocking him back and forth to try and keep him awake. Then, the body on the floor pushes the foil into her face, and she uses the substance as the silencer watches from the doorway. Her hands shake as she inhales the smoke, and the world gets foggy and warm. Then everything goes dark. A calm, comforting, liquid dark. When we come to, from Sophia's perspective, the first thing you'll notice is the room is bright and colorful now. And remember what that signifies. She sits up on the bathroom floor and sees her brother Julio is awake beside her. He shifts and crawls over, apologizing. Sorry, I had to do that. Sophia, can you hear me? I've been trying to tell you. The world shifts and groans as we cut to a new perspective, gaining clarity, insight, and our will to live back. My name is Julio. No one has heard me since I was 7. Again, we flash back to the blood covering the floor. The hand of who I can only assume is their father, crumpled and drained. But now we see things from his perspective. The world is dark and cold as he turns to see his sister, and he calls out to her, Sophia, Sophia! Sophia! Listen to me! But his voice comes out as distorted piano keys, and she just looks at him in confusion. The silencer reaches out from behind her. It's right there, he yells, again and again, apprehensive and lost. And then we see the world gain color, and he stands motionless, not saying anything at all. Horrified, I just sat still, staring at the screen as a montage began to play, showcasing moments from throughout his life where the shadow of the silencer loomed darkly over him, swinging at a playground, crouching by the street, culminating in him finding some beer bottles in a dumpster and the words, "When I drink, it goes away." And then the world is bright, the sun is shining, all the little details we were missing become clear and vivid. Then he looks up at a tree and starts to float up amongst the branches, which I understood to imply that he got a buzz from the drink or that he started using drugs. However, recently he's begun to notice Sophia's lack of interest and engagement with the world around her, almost as though she too was haunted, just like he has been since he witnessed his father's death. My sister isn't doing well. Okay, so when you're actually watching the video, at this point the time skipping is a little hard to follow, at least initially, so in case anyone is lost on the timeline, we are now almost back to the present. Earlier in the day, he came inside, she tried to break the bottle to get his attention, only she was unable to communicate, and now we're seeing that whole sequence again from his perspective. Sophia, don't move, he says, as he sees the claws of the entity wrapping around her. She doesn't even seem to notice. Yeah, order something, Julio. He steps outside onto the balcony, lights up, and smokes, looking out over the eerily empty city. It almost has her. She needs to hear me. He turns back inside to look at her, a grim determination setting in. Bro is filling with determination, filled to the brim with determination. I'll make her. He reaches out and touches her hand as the episode concludes with a very disturbing statement. When we're high, we can hear each other. Sophia, listen carefully. It'll be back soon. We need to go. Together, they rush out of the apartment, out onto the street where the sun beats down, reprimanding them for trying to escape. They reach a car and get in, driving out to some place devoid of people, surrounded by trees on all sides. Sophia asks, "What's happening?" To which he tells her to do more drugs or else it'll take her again. "Take me where?" she asks hesitantly, as we cut to an ending title card with some pretty piano music. Most stories that include drugs and drug addicts have a way of trivializing the struggles people go through in an attempt to avoid romanticizing drug use. And while that can be an admirable thought process, it lacks empathy, in my opinion. It almost always lacks empathy. The amount of stories where people started using because they lost a loved one and it felt like life just wasn't worth living anymore, or they got hooked as a kid and it was a predatory thing done to them, or genetic makeup just making it impossible to quit drinking or smoking, let alone, heating foil. Or even just there are some high functioning addicts that, don't really want to stop. Long story short, I really appreciate how this series is tackling drug abuse, as it is a real epidemic today, as more and more people are dying from overdosing on stuff like fentanyl. I'll tie it further into my theory later, but I also think the drug stuff is going to get really dark as the series goes on. My theory is still the obvious one. I doubt it can really even be considered a theory, but regardless, I'm still excited to talk about it. However, first we must watch the third video, which is the most recent one uploaded, titled Don't Hurt Him. Okay, quick aside. Not that this is important at all, but I stopped recording for a second because I was getting woozy because I needed to eat food because I'm an idiot. And so I stopped, got food, and then while I was eating, I was listening to music that I had not heard before. Porter Robinson's album Nurture. And holy shit, That is so cool. I don't know that I've ever heard anything really like that before. That was so cool. Anyways, not that that's important at all, but just thought I'd throw it out there. Here we go. Anyways, episode 3. The third episode of The Silencer is really good. Stylistically, it was my favorite, although it did feel like it was more of your typical liminal space analog horror series, where my favorite thing about the first 2 episodes, particularly episode 2, was the more gritty, down-to-earth elements. And for such a short series, for context, in totality, we have only about 10 minutes of content so far, and I've only talked about 6 of those minutes yet. It's surprisingly dense for how short it is. This episode primarily features Mauricio, another character who goes looking for the source of his torment by either the same or at least a very similar looking entity. It's not really clear. I'm assuming it's the same one though. Don't Hurt Him, ominously titled, begins with a point of view shot staring at an imposing monolith. My name is Mauricio. No one can hear me. What silenced me is in there. Holy shit, y'all. Silenced? Like the name of the series? Like The Silencer? He looks down at a wallet exposed in his hands and stares blankly at the very, very legal substances inside. I can't run from it anymore. With that, he chucks the whole wallet into a nearby lake. Beyond it, we can see a dilapidated house with a vehicle parked outside. His car, perhaps? The wallet splashes into the water without much sound, taking with it the only chance he had to relieve himself from the mental torment of the Silencer. The scene then turns dark, which leads me to believe that he waited for nightfall. It's always whispering. Walking alongside the monolith reveals a small rectangular hole, almost a crawl space, that our tortured protagonist bravely pushes his way through. We can hear ominous whispers as he does. What are you saying? Once inside, he turns, revealing a strange anomaly. The interior of the monolith seems larger than it does from the exterior, with hallways and corridors that twist and turn on themselves. Scenes from childhood memories and half-remembered dreams flash before our poor protagonist's eyes as he walks through this nightmarish liminal space. He strides down the hall, turns right, and tentatively pushes open a door into what appears to be a classroom. I remember this. The floor is overgrown with wild plants and tall grasses, yet we can hear children calling to one another in the distance, echoing like ghosts through the corridors of the monolith. He looks at the colorful chairs and desks and muses to himself, no one cared. Playful stickers adorn the walls near bookshelves and, oh, what's this? I mean, your eyes might be drawn to the Silencer's shadow in the doorway, but I actually want to point your attention to this alphabet thing mounted on the wall. 4 letters are missing from it. E, H, L, and P. What could this mean? Oh well, I guess we'll never know. The lights in the room shut off. But then we blink, and the Silencer is gone, and the missing letters are back. Classic Silencer activities. Grass turns to sharp tile beneath our feet as we walk through the doorway, leading us into a bathroom that's upside down, apparently. Whispers permeate the air. What are you saying? He shouts, starting to move through the strange environment faster and faster. Next is a room tilted on its side with a couch and a lamp sparsely populated by boxes. Someone's moving, perhaps? Moving in, moving out? I have no idea. But the text on screen says, "After that day, everyone left. I was such a burden." Through weird black fabric curtains, we move into a hallway with lights dangling down every few steps. The floor is jagged and strange. More incomprehensible whispers. Again, he shouts into the void. "What are you saying?" To no response. The void is silent, guys. The Silencer, it even got the void. If it can get the void, it's coming for you too. What do you want? He asks the imposing creature. once again hiding behind a corner that doesn't quite cover him. It reaches out, grotesque claw-like hands, contorting them into a point, pointing at a wall. We turn to look and see a child's drawing. 2 figures, one tall and one significantly smaller. The smaller one having a sort of blunt object on his head with red crayon on it. "No, don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. I'll do anything," he screams as real, actual blood starts spurting from cuts that appear in the wall. "I can't let it hurt him," he says, staring down the entity as it leers at him from behind the mask. The tension is extremely powerful here, with most of the music cutting out and leaving us to fend for ourselves against this horrific scene unraveling before us. Who is that kid in the picture? Who drew the picture? Why is there blood coming out of it? So many questions. And as more blood pours from the wall, the entity smiles. He's better off without me. And suddenly we're in a new hallway. One which was hinted at back at the start of this face-to-face encounter with the silencer. There's a beautiful hallway that terminates in a wider, open space. We can see rolling green hills and clear blue skies with billowing clouds hanging low in the atmosphere. Although whether or not those clouds or that whole landscape is actually real is absolutely up for debate. In the center of it all, however, is this gorgeous, glowing creature, flapping and flexing a multitude of wings. An insect, an angel. Present yourself, press your clothes, comb your hair, and clock in. You just can't win. The things you own you now. Real ones will get it. Is that the third? That's the third time I've done that in this video. I need to stop. Plus the other random reference. I'm sorry, guys. I was born to have a music channel, I guess. I don't know. Approaching the creature along the grass and flower-covered path in the hallway turns the glow from something gentle into a blinding, shining beacon of light, piercing through pretensions and leaving nothing but the soul behind. Each environment we wandered through before flashes a negative image across the screen, and then we fall onto dark grass. The video cuts to black, and you'd think that would be the end. And maybe it is for our doomed friend. But the video itself is not yet over, for we switch perspectives. My name is Sophia. When we are high, we can hear each other. The traumatized kids we'd been following up to this point return. Now, after driving out into the country, they're sitting by a destroyed bridge over troubled water. I'll do it again. It seems like they pulled over to the side of the road, and Julio seems to be cradling a body in his arms. Julio, what happened? It has Mauricio now. How does he know this? Is it possible that those taken by the silencer can feel each other's presence, or were they... I mean, he obviously knew his name, so maybe they were friends and they confided in each other. Maybe they were, giving each other the substance, because they're the substances, not the substance, which is a really good movie. Julio continues, "Let's bring his body to the others." The others? We look across the water to see that same dilapidated house from before, but there is no monolith anywhere to be seen. Finally, we cut back to the city. A person in a red beanie is crying on the bed in a room covered in dirty laundry, with pictures adorning every inch of the walls. "Mauricio, where'd you go? Come back." "He's gone because of me." Each of these tragic characters began seeing this entity when something traumatic occurred in their lives. To me, the series so far is a bleak and powerful representation of depression and cycles of addiction, just general mental illness, really. While there are elements that feel slightly derivative of other series in terms of the imagery, the actual themes and depictions are something more mature than what I normally see from analog horror. It reminds me of my own life and of people that I have known, and my heart goes out to those today who are struggling with addiction and with that cycle. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely hard. And if I'm understanding what we saw correctly, the kid in the monolith blamed himself for something, and his inner demons drove him to the edge, then off of it. Those inner demons being manifested into reality as the silencer, as like a metaphor, which is very clever. While the monolith may have been a fictitious affair in his own mind, the end result is he is just a body now. I hope Sophia and Julio can escape a similar fate, but only time will tell. Many days it feels like I have no control over what happens in my own life, or even over my own body, but the voice in your head that stops you from asking for assistance or guidance or help, that voice is the silencer. The animation in particular is really strong. And anyways, I'm obsessed. I was already obsessed. Now I've gotten to speak to the creator. It's super cool. I can't wait to see what they make next. I'm very excited for the next episode. It'd be really cool if I could interview him at some point for the channel. Be sure to check out the Silencer channel. I've linked it below in the description. It'll probably be in a pinned comment too. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next transmission. We are Legion. Goodbye. And also thank you to the patrons who make this channel possible. I would like to welcome Kuro Shimoto to the Patreon. Thank you for joining. And just massive thank you to Kira, AJ, Dark Beast, Bile, Coyote, Cuba, Batnoise, Phoenix, Bees, Joy, Amelia, Boris, Panflute, Thomas, Audrey, Justin, Lou, ZK, Tom, Dave, Elkie, Stardrop, Nude, George, Joseph, Mr. Fox, Possum, Kyojin, Drarko, Geek, Lori, Aprils, Kira's, Danny, Paperclip, and Linty. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.